Alright everyone, so as promised, I'm making a follow-up video on SPNEC's IPO and naitanong ko na po kay Sir Leandro Leviste yung karamihan ng mga katanungan nyo. And we'll get to that shortly. Okay? But before we get to that, I wanted to run over the key details again, briefly lang, just in case merong mga nanonood nito na hindi napanood yung unang video. If you want to skip this and just go straight for the Q&A, feel free to do so. No? First of all, the final price is 1 peso. Sure na po yun. And then the market cap post-IPO will be up to 8.1 billion. And then the estimated public float is 33.23%. And the stock code for this particular IPO will be SPNEC or SPNEC. And they'll be offering up to 2.7 billion shares. No? Final price date, as mentioned, nakuha na natin. That was on November 23, 2021. And final price nga po is piso. And then the offer period will be from December 1 hanggang December 7, 2021 with a tentative listing date of December 17, 2021. Okay? Kaya tentative pa rin po yung listing date. Hindi ko naman nakitang inalis sa prospectus yung terminology na tentative. So I'll be watching for future disclosures as we get closer to the offer period kung magbago or maalis yun. And then I'll update you guys accordingly. No? The lead underwriter will be Abacus Capital and Investment Corp with participating underwriter Investment and Capital Corp of the Philippines. As mentioned before, always be sure to do due diligence sa performance ng underwriter sa mga previous endeavors nila kasi that could be an indicator kung how well they will do sa mga future projects. Okay? Again, I won't name names, I won't say good things or bad things about one specific underwriter or another. Nasa sa inyo po yun to do your due diligence. Okay? Now, let's get to the Q&A with Mr. Leandro L. Leviste. Now, before we go on, I just need to let you guys know na meron pong mga restrictions or limitations na binigay sa amin for the interview. So, hindi lang po ako yung nag-interview. There were other people there. Okay? Hindi po namin pwedeng i-record yung interview mismo. Hindi namin pwedeng ipalabas. What we could do is we could ask questions and we can take notes. And then, yung mga notes namin, yun po yung pwede naming ibigay at i-share sa inyo. Okay? So, each interview group, parang may mga 2-3 people nakasali. Tapos, based sa sabi nila, sunod-sunod. May mga nakapilang sunod-sunod na call si Sir Leviste. So, we were only given a set amount of time. I think natanong ko naman karamihan ng gusto nyong ipatanong. But there were some questions, lalo na yung mga future-looking na statements that they simply couldn't answer or were not willing to answer at this time. Wala na po akong magagawa doon. Ang sa-side ko lang naman, basta talagang tinanong ko, I tried my best. But meron talagang iba na they weren't willing to answer right now. No? Now, the questions I am posting not in order para fair naman. Baka sabihin nyo, bias ako. Mas inuna ko yung question ni ganito or inuna ko yung question ni ganyan. No? But I tried to do it in such a way na it makes sense sa overall flow pero random pa rin yung order. Okay? The only thing that we were allowed to take to prove that we were in the interview was this screenshot with Sir Leandro Leviste. As you can see, I whited out some portions kasi nga may kasama ako doon and I didn't really know if I was allowed to show yung names ng ibang tao. So, for the interest of privacy and to make sure na wala akong strikes sa video na to, blinock out ko na lang sila. Okay? Para ito po yung interview ko. Ito yung screenshot for that. We did it on Zoom. Okay. So, a lot of the questions medyo similar. Pag mga ganon, I just try to bunch them together para isang tanungan lang. Kasi nga, konting time lang din na nabigay sa amin. Why offer SPNEC publicly over Solar Philippines or other projects? So, ang sagot po niya is SPNEC is like a representation of the company. It has the land, the permits, the development pipeline. So, it serves as a good quote-unquote sample of our company. It is our biggest project to date. It has an execution risk, but if we can execute properly, it has a higher upside as well. Okay? Next, do you intend to have an IPO for Solar Philippines as well moving forward? So marami rin ako natanggap ng mga tanong, whether via DMs or sa ibang sites sa Investa or whatever, asking about this, no? So ang sinagot nila is the parent company has a lot more plans that require the public to agree that solar will become the largest source of energy in the country. Before, people were relatively skeptical of solar, but there has been a lot of progress in the last 2 years to change tong perception na to. Okay? Now, before we continue, I just need to put a disclaimer na kahit papano, syempre, inedit ko yung mga sagot in the sense na nagtanggal ako ng mga or mga may ibang instances na may konting redundancy. But yung binibigay ko sa inyong sagot is more or less verbatim, including yung choice of words na ginamit ni Sir Leandro Leviste in our interview. Except yun nga, inedit ko lang ng konti, nagtanggal ako ng nagtanggal ako ng konting redundancy, 'di ba? Parang sinummarize ko lang ng konti, pero yung mga keywords I made sure to use his words para you can't take it against me din, no? Na talaga siya yung nagsabi, hindi ako. All right? Now, will you continue to strictly invest and diversify in renewable energy? Do you have intentions of going beyond solar? Could you give us an idea or a timeline of projects you plan to pursue in the next 5 years? Ang sinagot lang po niya is, we intend purely to stick to solar energy as we've identified it as an area where we have an edge over the competition. Okay? So, we had a very brief exchange na nasabi niya na kapag sa ibang types of renewable energy, parang level lang playing field na anyone can just go buy the same type of equipment to produce the same type of results, no? Pero sa solar energy, meron silang advantage sa competition, but he didn't expound on it, so hindi ko na siya sinama dito sa screen na to. Okay? Sa screen, parang answer na to. Alright? Would it be okay to ask for a brief overview on Solar Philippines? A common thread in the questions I've received is how Solar Philippines is ran, as it could be a reflection on how SPNEC will be ran moving forward. So ang sinagot po ni Sir Leandro is, you can check the projects we have operating in Batangas and Tarlac, which we were able to finish quickly. We have been able to confidently raise financing, secure power supply agreements, and remain competitive. With that, the public can judge if our track record will carry over to SPNEC. Now, you can learn more about their other projects from their website, and I'll put a link to that in the description box below as well. And I'll put a link again sa prospectus ng SPNEC in the description box din kung may gusto kayong i-double check. Okay? So, next, for the uninitiated, megawatts and other technical terms likely sound quite vague, no? Could you give us a brief rundown on what this means in layman's terms? I think yung nagtatanong ng tanong na to, they just wanted to get a bigger picture of what this 500 megawatt plant will be doing once na it's fully operational na, no? So 500 megawatts, ang sabi ni Sir Leandro, is approximately 3% of the country's power demand. It should be able to meet the demand of half of Central Luzon. Another way to look at it is all of the rooftop solar installations in the Philippines is roughly around 200 megawatts to 300 megawatts lang, meaning SPNEC is double that. Okay? How long do you expect it to take before you are able to achieve maximum capacity? If I'm not mistaken, the prospectus states the target is around 2023. So, correct. But achieving 500 megawatts will be done in tranches. The first tranche will be funded by the IPO, which after completion will be used to leverage, meaning debt using the equity of the first step, the next step, and so on. So parang after magawa yung first step, pwede niyang gamitin yon as equity para makakuha ng debt para mas favorable daw yung terms moving forward. This is also how we create more shareholder value by not raising all the required financing at the start, but raising just enough to get it going at the time and using what we have then to raise financing with better terms for the next step and so on. This is similar to what we did in our other projects. Okay? Next. if I'm not mistaken, a new transmission line will be constructed for SPNEC, which is set to be financed by a portion of the proceeds. Will this be exclusively for SPNEC use? If not, will future users have to pay some sort of toll to use it? So ang sagot po nila is, given the planned expansion to 500 megawatts and the potential to expand beyond that, the transmission line capacity will be fully utilized by SPNEC. Okay? And then, are you planning on having a power purchase agreement, PPA, with one or more parties? The short answer was no. Okay? Nagbigay sila ng brief explanation but I was asked not to include it in this video. Will SPNEC be a merchant plant, meaning it intends to sell all its output to the wholesale electricity spot market? So the answer to that is yes. Alright? Now, what is the projected annual income of SPNEC once it's fully operational? Now this, along with other questions na medyo forward-looking statements, they really avoided answering. Pero ito, napakiusapan ko si Sir Leandro na magdagdag ng konti, no? Para lang mabigyan tayo ng insight, di ba? So sabi niya, we can't give forward-looking statements. However, I would just guide the investors that the value driver is really what's the selling price of power, okay, that's number one, and how much power we can generate. For the latter, okay, that's the aforementioned execution risk, which is something mitigated by the track record of the company. For the former, which is yung price of power, execution is based upon both securing contracts and the spot prices of power in the Philippines. Okay? So next, are you exposed to calamities like typhoons, earthquakes, and volcano eruptions and so on, no? If so, how do you typically manage the risk? Based on the feasibility study conducted by the company, it was confirmed by a site investigation and interviews that the site has low likelihood of flooding and landslides, which may possibly occur during severe weather conditions and high-magnitude earthquakes. To manage these risks, the company established a business continuity and disaster recovery plan in addition to securing comprehensive insurance coverage for the plant assets. Alright? Then, next question. I read somewhere in a newspaper that they cited a partnership with Asen. What is the nature of this relationship? There is none with regards to SPNEC, but Solar Philippines, the parent company, has a joint venture with Ayala for another project, SP Central Luzon, for which Asen is also a creditor. More details can be found in the prospectus po. Alright? Now, eto marami rin nagtanong, do you intend to have some sort of dividend program? Could you share what it might look like? Now, some of your questions na nasa comment section that were included in the prospectus, sinagutan ko na, no? I answered you guys directly. But for this, since maraming nagtanong, I figured I would show it in the video as well. So ito po yung dividends and dividend policy na nakasaad sa prospectus. So hindi ko na po babasahin lahat, no? Baka makatulog kayo, antukin kayo sa boses ko. But feel free to take a screenshot and read it at your leisure. Okay? Pero naka-explain naman po doon yung binabalak nila. Alright? Now, dito po nagtatapos yung video natin. Again, I apologize for the restrictions that they imposed upon us for the interview, no? Honestly, last minute din, in-apply yung restrictions. Nung una, dapat everything could have been recorded. It was the way I preferred to do it, but I respect yung mga restrictions na in-apply naman nila. I'm sure may maganda naman silang reason kung bakit nila ginawa yon. Okay? So I hope na nasagutan ko po yung mga tanong nyo with regards SPNEC's IPO, mga questions nyo for the company. And I would just like to take this time to thank Sir Leandro Leviste for his generosity na for taking the time to do a short interview with us. I know he's a very busy person. Okay? And as always, guys, maraming salamat po sa panonood. I really appreciate it. Good luck and happy trading.